I just want to start off by asking you about the relationship between your two characters. For me, what struck me is that it's quite an odd couple relationship, and there's a lot of kind of strong will characters and opinions, and you're butting heads quite a lot. But what I wanted to know is for you, Tom, what does Lucienne mean to Morpheus? And Vivienne, what does Morpheus mean to Lucienne?
I mean, firstly, that there is obviously a hierarchy in their relationship, which what? but which kind of elicits a kind of at least initially a formality in like behavior. But the key, I think, is that Lucienne is the being that Morpheus has spent more time with than any other in his existence. She is always there. And that familiarity, as you say, can breed a form of contempt, but also, like, by necessity, breeds a love. And I think that's what's beautiful about the complexity of their relationship, is there is this deep underlying love that sort of can't be expressed because of the required formality, and also the kind of the familiarity that allows for you to be brusque and difficult and rude in a way that you couldn't to a person that you didn't know very well.
Yeah, all of that, really. I think that that's a really important point that Tom has made about the hierarchy, because it does put you in a certain position. But for Lucienne, certainly, there's, as Tom has said, the love runs really deep. She respects him. She understands his work. You know, he has the unconscious mind of humanity within him. He sees and experiences so much. And she understands how important his work is in the realm to, to have the fears, fantasies when we're most vulnerable in our dreams, to see all this. So she understands that. And, for Morpheus, he has to follow these rules and regulations, and he has to sometimes be a bit cold, a bit distant, because this is his work. And if he gets too involved in it, it could be catastrophic. So she understands that. But I think for her, she also wants to gently and quietly and respectfully guide him, so that sometimes he doesn't forget that he doesn't have to be so rigid in this rule following, and can be, can have a bit of empathy or, change, that there is room for change. But it's a very special relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Tom, I wanted to ask you about your character Morpheus. He is this kind of ageless being and has this kind of all-encompassing kind of knowledge. And what I wanted to know is, what is it like to engage with a character that has that much knowledge and that much power and has lived for millennia, and to try and create that into a portrayal of a character?
That's a great question. It's one I ask myself constantly. I pretty much still do. I think you have to begin with the literature. What is so unusual about this character from a kind of acting perspective is that there are 2,500 pages written about him. And if you read them over and over again, as I did, then you get some fragment of his soul does slip into your heart. Was the beginning. Neil said something to me that was very important, actually, about the way he speaks, which was that he has had every thought that could ever have been thought. And that he says, therefore, nothing, he is discovering nothing in the moment of the delivery. And like everything should be as if it was carved in stone when he says it. And so that was a key into the eternal quality that you talk about, or not eternal, but the amount of time he'd existed, I think. And then, I mean, the other thing was that I felt an enormous responsibility doing it, a responsibility as a fan to the fans who'd already made the film of him in their head, and kind of wanting to realize that film and make it, while bringing my own soul to it, to make the film that they'd all made. And that responsibility, while minor compared, it was a key into the great burden of responsibility he has for the dreams of everybody. And I think that shared burden was a route forward.
Excellent. And just one final question. What is it like acting with a talking raven, logistically?
Do you know what? We had a real raven.
Yeah.
And there were actually 4 different sexes, and they were extraordinary. By far the most disciplined performers in the entire production. They would fly in and hit a mark and stay there and look at me, and it was everyone says like, oh, don't work with animals. Bullshit.
Yeah.
They were incredible. Ravens are the best actors in the world. And it was, I mean, and it happened so quickly because every time they would just hit the mark, stare at me. But actually, sorry, this is the important point. Joking aside, it's normally such a leap of imagination when you're doing these things. Like trying to be an endless, trying to be the king of dreams, trying to imagine you're in an enormous castle. And what was extraordinary about the way they made this Sandman is that they built the castle and the raven was a raven. And so you didn't, like, the preparation was obviously so important, but you could step onto that set and you just had to react to the reality that was presented to you, which bizarrely was an unreality. But yeah.
Excellent. Thanks very much, guys. That's a wrap for me.
Thank you.
Lovely to meet you.
Dreams don't die.